Hey there, Vikings Nation. Get ready to dive deep into the Skol state of mind. Join our host, D. Woods, as he shares his unfiltered takes on all things Vikings, from expert game analysis to player controversies and everything in between. If you love the Vikings for better or worse, then you've come to the right place. So grab a drink and let's talk all things purple and gold. This is the Skol State of Mind podcast.
Welcome to the Skol State of Mind podcast. As you know, I'm your host, D. Woods, and let's talk about this tough game, this tough loss that the Minnesota Vikings took to the Cincinnati Bengals on Saturday morning. Now, I feel like this was a game that was in the hand for the Vikings to win. I feel like certain parts of this game, it was out of reach. I felt like, this game is over. The Vikings got a 2-score lead. It is what it is. Vikings going to go home with the win, 8-6. Maybe we can actually compete for this division. But as you know, that didn't happen. I feel like the real Minnesota Vikings showed up and, we lost this game. Now, I took some time to basically figure out what I really wanted to say in this recap reaction video. I just really felt like with so much emotions on how the game ended, I really didn't want to come on here and give you a full emotional video. I want to sit back with my thoughts so I can come on here and give you, a well thought of opinion on what happened, what should have happened, and what I think about this team going forward. So let's talk about Nick Mullins. Nick Mullins had a backup type game. He had 303 yards, 2 touchdowns, 2 interceptions with a quarterback rating of 99.9. Now, that's not a bad game in my opinion, but he is a backup and he made backup mistakes. Now, those 2 interceptions, the first one, I don't know what the hell he was looking at, but he threw an interception, okay? The thing about some quarterbacks, you're going to have to live with the interceptions. They're going to throw some. But the second interception was that's a bonehead play. You feel me? Just take the sack. And when I'm doing the live watch party, I'm sitting there thinking me and Kurt are talking about it. That's a play where basically Kirk Cousins just tucks down, takes the sack. We kick a field goal, we're good. But it's kind of like some of these players don't understand, these quarterbacks don't understand. I think Dobbs had the same problem where, hey, just go down. If you just go down, you're basically giving your offense another down to play, basically. Just take the sack. And he running around and threw the ball, hit a defensive lineman in the face mask, bounced around, never hit the ground, interception. So that's a boneheaded play. And I'm sitting here thinking too, I don't really want to talk about Jaren Hall too much right now, especially today. I'm probably going to talk about him more throughout this week. But if Jaren Hall makes that mistake, I feel like, all right, he can grow upon that mistake because he's a rookie, never played in a consistent time in the NFL. So I feel like he can grow from there. But you got a veteran who started a whole season, 16 games, and it's you're still making a mistake, but that's the reason why he's a backup. But overall, I feel like Nick Mullins played a okay game. He played a cool game. He just got to eliminate the turnovers and eliminate the boneheaded mistakes. Now, let's talk about the offensive struggles. Now, this is probably a 2-part, topic because I got Kevin O'Connell by himself, and I want to talk about him a little bit more in depth later on in this video. But to me, it really feels like when the Vikings have a lead, the offense starts playing conservative. And I feel like the play calling is not like the play calling you would need to actually put your foot on someone's throat and basically beat them, kill their will, basically say we got this game. And I feel like the Vikings get into a situation to where their offense basically disappears. When I say it disappears, it's they go from this offense that's going down the field. And even if they're going down the field and they're not even getting touchdowns, they're at least putting points on the board. Minus the 2 times that Nick Mullins, threw those interceptions in the red zone, so we couldn't get points. So it's turnover, but it felt like the offense was clicking, especially Ty Chandler. Just really talk about Ty Chandler right now. Ty Chandler had a great game, and like if you really think about it, like that was basically the first Vikings running back this season to have 100-yard rushing game, not combined running backs. I'm talking about one running back rush for over 100 yards. To me, that's kind of sad because it's like we're pretty much at the end of the season where only like 3 games left and we're just now getting a 100-yard rusher. I mean, I don't want to shit on Alexander Madison because I think Alexander Madison is good within certain roles. I think he's good in a backup role. I feel like, he's able to come in there, do what he does, hit the hole, make a play here and there. But I just feel like some guys aren't suited for the star back role. And maybe Ty Chandler is not suited for a star back role. Maybe this was just a blip on the radar, but I do see the way he runs a little bit different. Like I feel his elusiveness, his burst, his shiftiness, it kind of like makes a difference. I mean, the boy was having a field that he was kind of getting everything he wanted. And the thing with running backs is like you're going to get plays to where you rush for 5 yards and -3, like that's going to happen. But the boy rushed for over 100 yards and had a touchdown. And I kind of feel like maybe the Minnesota Vikings, Kevin O'Connell play calling could have basically like leaned on him a little bit more when they had the lead. And that's the thing too. That's the thing too. It's like when you have a lead, I was taught when you have a lead coming up playing football, watching football, that the best way to protect the lead is to bleed the clock and run the ball. So the offense, after they got the lead, they just came and started playing like a whole different offense. And they basically allowed the Cincinnati Bengals to get back in this game. But let's talk about this defense, though. I mean, it's been a lot of talk on social media about Brian Flores and about how he should be the head coach of this team and how he turned this defense around from one of the worst defenses in the league last year to one of the top defenses this year. I get that. But I'm going to be honest with y'all. This defense is not elite. And when I'm saying this defense is not elite, this is what I mean by an elite defense. All right. Against Chicago, the defense was playing a great game. But when it came to the game being on the line, they weren't able to make the plays. And when I talk about an elite defense is a defense like Baltimore, the 49ers. I mean, the New York Jets have a great defense. I don't think our defense is there because I don't think we have the personnel to be consistent all the time. I mean, there's a reason why Brian Flores blitzes so much because it covers up some of the mistakes that these skill players make. I mean, because we don't really have the personnel. And I'm not doubting anybody. I'm not saying like this defense is bad. The defense is worlds ahead of what the defense was last year, but I'm not going to put them in that elite category, not just yet until they start making elite plays in situations that close out the game. Now, I do say the defense did step up at the end of the game in overtime and give the ball back to the offense. We're going to talk about that more, but I just don't understand, like, after the lead, like, I don't know if this Kevin is this Kevin O'Connell basically telling the Flores, like, yo, we got the lead, take the foot off the gas on defense. But it just felt like when the Cincinnati Bengals came out of halftime, like, they just started going down the field. They was basically getting everything that they wanted. And the defense started playing real fucking soft. Like, it was kind of like, oh, we got a 2-score lead. Let's just pull back. And I feel like you can't do that in a National Football League because these are NFL players. These are professionals on the other side of the ball too, like on the other side of the field. So it's kind of like this team needs to develop a mentality of, yeah, we got the league and we're gonna make that league grow. You get what I'm saying? Like basically look at how the Buffalo Bills beat the Dallas Cowboys today. Like they had the lead early and they just kept adding to it. I feel like the Minnesota Vikings have to get to the point where they are able to play complementary football. What I mean by complementary football is like your defense is shutting down your opposing offense, and your offense is going down the field, putting points on the board. And I'm not saying you always have to put touchdowns on the board. Even if you put in 3 points here, 3 points there, you're basically making that game become out of reach. And if you really think about it and you dissect, the the turnovers that that the offense had in the red zone, that's 6 points off the board. And maybe if they don't have those turnovers, maybe those 6 points actually make a difference and the Vikings don't go in overtime. We'll never know. I'm not finna live in a world called if, but I'm just saying like that's how you play complementary football. And that's how you're able to beat teams and by multiple scores in the game was out of reach. But going back to the defense, I just really feel like the defense just started playing soft in the second half, and Cincinnati basically got what they wanted, and they were able to get back in this game. Now, Kevin O'Connell. Where do I start with Kevin O'Connell? Like, I posted something on X maybe a few weeks ago to where basically I was saying like Kevin O'Connell is starting to give me Brad Childress vibes, and some people understood what I was talking about, and some basically was like, "Oh, you're reaching, you're just making posts to get engagement, blah blah blah." But I'll break it down to you once again. It's like this. It's like basically when Brad Childress came to the Minnesota Vikings, he was touted as this offensive savant, this offensive guru, this quarterback whisperer, because he was under Andy Reid. And we already know Andy Reid is a fucking great coach. I'm not going to even say Andy Reid is a great offensive mind. That's just part of the resume. Andy Reid is one of those great coaches, straight up, right? So Brad Childress came to this team, and if you look at the teams that Brad Childress had, you had a great eraser with Adrian Peterson, and you had the 1 year when you had a productive Brett Favre, '09, when you basically go to the NFC title game. Outside of that, this offense wasn't kick ass. This offense wasn't great. This offense wasn't a good offense consistently, outside of the Hall of Famers, right? So let's compare that to Kevin O'Connell. Kevin O'Connell comes in here and he's under Sean McVay. And I feel Sean McVay is in the realm of, your Andy Reid's like, yeah, he's an offensive savant and he's, does these things with offenses and stuff like that. But he's a great coach first. He's a great fucking coach, right? So, Kevin O'Connell comes in here. He can get this done. He's going to unlock Kirk Cousins and he's going to do this and like that. I would say the one thing Kevin O'Connell has done good with this team is he has changed the culture. And I feel like guys do play hard for him. But how long do they keep playing hard for him if he keeps making these same mistakes down down the road at the end of games and costing the team games? They're going to start questioning this shit, and then the culture starts to get bad. But let's get back to the comparison. Like, so Kevin O'Connell, comes in here and he has a great eraser with Justin Jefferson, Kirk Cousins. Now, I know you guys are probably saying, like, what do you mean great eraser? All right, this is what I call great erasers, right? There's certain times in offenses where you have certain players that erase other players' bad plays, that erase bad play calling, that erase just everything, and they just go in and make plays because they're fucking Hall of Fame players. They're great players. Adrian Peterson, like, he probably wasn't the best pass blocker. He wasn't the best catcher, but if you gave him the ball, he can erase a bad offensive line. You get what I'm saying? Like, he can, fuck it, I'm going to get 100 yards today. Justin Jefferson, he's a great eraser. You can throw him a bad ball, and he's going to make that ball look good. Kirk Cousins, shaky offensive line, he's going to do what he does. You get what I'm saying? Let's not talk about Kirk too much. Let's get off Kirk. But those are great erasers, in my opinion. We can debate it later. But outside of the plays JJ makes and Addison makes, like that's kind of like, if Kevin O'Connell is this offensive savant, why the hell does the offense continue to disappear multiple times within a game? You know what I'm saying? And they wasn't doing it. It's not just like they started doing it this year. They had the same problem last year. And I seem like a lot of people are just now noticing that because of the play calling of Saturday's games. But a lot of people in our circle have been calling Kevin O'Connell out for this shit since last year. Now, let's break down what actually happened. Now, the defense let the Bengals back in. And this is how I feel about overtime. Whatever the fuck happened in regulation is done. Is done. You're in overtime right now. You can't say if, you can't say that. Whatever happened, you're in overtime now. You actually have a chance to win. And the way these overtime rules are set, it really makes it fair for both teams to actually have a chance to win the game. The defense start back being aggressive. They got the ball back with, I think the Bengals couldn't get nothing, and the Vikings defense got the ball back to the offense. Now they're going down the field. All they need is a field goal at this point because the Bengals already had that possession. So a field goal can win this game, right? And we're sitting here watching the game, and it's like, oh, quarterback sneak because it's 13 inches or whatever. All right, whatever. They didn't get it. Okay. Then they called the same damn play again. Like at that point, I'm thinking like, why you just didn't kick the field goal? Yeah, it could have been out of Greg Joseph's range or whatever, but just kick the field goal and see what happens. If it kicks a whatever 55-yard field goal or whatever, we win the game. And then that's just the reason why I kind of took the time out to think about it, because it's like now we're seeing a video of Brian Flores telling Kevin O'Connell to call the timeout. And I'm thinking, maybe something else happened with that play that's not being talked about. Maybe they called the quarterback sneak on third down, not getting it, and they actually went into the same formation on fourth down and basically just sat there and waited and see if the defense was going to flinch and get an offsides penalty. Now I understand that reasoning, but when you get within 5 seconds and the defense is staying put and they're not flinching, call a fucking timeout. If that's the case, I just feel like in the next coming days, we are probably going to see and figure out more of what really went down on that last play. But I blame Kevin O'Connell. And that's the title of this video. Who is to blame? Outside of the defense allowing the Bengals offense and the Bengals just to get back in the game, they did their job in overtime. The offense got stagnant. It did, but I think it goes to play calling. I think Kevin O'Connell, you got to hold this loss. Like, you got to answer about, why did you call the same play back to back, and you basically went backwards the second time. Like, you cost them the game, and the Bengals basically went down the field on this defense and whatever. You can sit there and say like, oh, the defense let them down because they shouldn't have got the ball back again. Okay. You don't think the morale with the defense feels a certain type of way that, okay, we started overtime on defense and we got the offense the ball back, and you basically squandered the game away by not kicking the field goal? You think the defense is going to actually go out there and be like, yeah, we don't get the ball back again? Like, shit, they heart drops like all of us because they thought they had that game. So Kevin O'Connell, 90% of this game is on you, straight up. And you got to fix it, because even though you probably, change the culture in the locker room, making dumbass decisions like that down the line is going to fuck up your locker room, especially on the defense side of the ball when they doing their job and giving your offense multiple opportunities and your offense can't do shit. And we understand that you're on your fourth quarterback. We understand that shit. But all you have to do was run Ty Chandler, run CJ Ham, whoever. I don't even want to get into the situation of, oh, the tush push didn't work because we don't have the person there. That shit shouldn't even be in your fucking playbook. I'm going there with it. Like, That shit shouldn't even be in your playbook at all. Straight up. We don't have the personnel to get that shit done. And like I said before, Ty Chandler was having his way with this team. He had over 100 yards. You mean to tell me that when we get to the end of the game in overtime, you can't even hand the ball off to the running back to actually keep the game going? Now, I do understand you want to get in better field goal range for Greg Joseph, but you ran the same fucking play twice and you went backwards on the second time you ran it. Like, that's bullshit, bro. Like, you cost this team the game, and I blame you for that shit straight up. Now, looking forward, this playoff race is real tight. It's real tight. We just saw what the Detroit Lions did to the Denver Broncos. They beat them outright, no questions about it. So it seems like they got their mojo back. So the next 3 games is really going to determine how this team can respond through adversity. They got the Lions, they got the Packers, and the Lions to close the season. And I'm not the type of person to where I'm going to be sitting there, scoreboard watching about which team is losing here, which team is winning there. Like, I just feel like this, like, at the end of the day, the Vikings got to get in there and take care of business straight up. They can't be scoreboard watching. They got to go, beat the Detroit Lions outright, get that win, beat the Packers. They got to win out. Let's see what this team is made of, for real. Let's see what Kevin O'Connell is made of. Let's see, what Brian Flores is made of, straight up, because it feels like the honeymoon is over, baby. This is the nitty-gritty right now. And I'm excited because I feel like the next 3 games is going to be must-see football, but we're going to see how the Minnesota Vikings respond through adversity in these next 3 games. We're going to see how Kevin O'Connell responds to actually making bonehead fucking moves and losing the game. All right. But I'm out. I just want to say to everybody who follow the channel, thank you. Like and subscribe. If you follow me on X, you follow me on Facebook, you follow me on Instagram, I really appreciate it. I'm probably going to be dropping way more videos this week. I'm really trying to get consistent in making my videos. I'll be leaving a lot of content, just sitting there because I just be so busy at work and family and kids and things like that. But I just want to take a time out to say thank you. Skol, baby.
Thanks for tuning into the Skol State of Mind podcast. Take a beat to give us a 5-star rating and review wherever you get your podcasts. Join us next time, and don't forget to follow Skol State of Mind on all social media platforms to keep up with all the news and updates. Thanks again for listening, and as always, Skol Vikings.